Right, so you seem to be a very busy man at the moment with the new Big Train albums just come out, and then the Gungfly album out on the 19th.
Yeah, things have been busy now, but that's the way I like it as well, so it's good.
yeah. How did the Gungfly project come about?
Well, it was it started off as a solo project back in must have been around 2005 or 2006. I think I started recording a bunch of stuff by myself, and that later on led to an album called Please Be Quiet that I released in 2009, and then just continued working on it alongside with Beardfish and stuff. So it was always sort of a little bit in the background, but as soon as I had some time, and also as soon as I had songs that I didn't really thought fit in with Beardfish, even though we had quite an eclectic style with a bunch of various styles of music, but still some stuff just didn't feel right to record there. So and those songs went to Gungfly, and then I tried to sneak in some prog here and there as well. So.
Yeah. Obviously, you've known the musicians in the band for quite a long time. They say they were friends before you even started the band.
Oh yeah.
Is it, when you're playing, is it like jamming with friends? Is it more enjoyable maybe than when you were doing the Beardfish stuff, or is it very similar?
No, I mean, actually, the thing is that the whole sort of Gungfly Beardfish thing, the whole thing is basically like I wouldn't say a collective, but it's a whole bunch of friends, and everyone sort of know each other. So it's kind of the bands have been on. We did a couple of shows where we did both bands at the same bill, and
so did you get paid twice for being the main act and support as well then?
I didn't, no. That was a classic case of working overtime,
Yeah.
Anyway, and I mean also the fact that Gungfly was there is a live band, but it's never been a real band, if I put it that way. So it's kind of it's always been more of a recording project, and then there is a live band, so that we can actually go out and perform the stuff if we want to. Yeah. And I'm aiming at more of that stuff these days. So
that was going to be a follow-up question later on, so I'll leave that till later on.
Cool.
I've been listening this morning to the new album, the Beardfish stuff, and the Unbendable Sleep, and there does seem to be a lot of similarities and correlations between the three, but to my ears, I don't know whether you'd agree with me on this one, but Gungfly just seems to be a bit more free-spirited, like a free-rolling jam feel to it, and even on the recorded material, it just sounds like it's real fun.
Oh, well, that's good.
What's your comments on it? Does it feel any different when you're doing the Gungfly stuff to Beardfish, or is it just like you said, because it's a project that probably involves all of it, does it feel no different at all? It's been a lonelier process, I would say, at least for the new album, because I did a whole lot of On a Journey to the Sun by myself. So it was it's been kind of a lonely process, but still at the same time that was something that I felt that I needed to do, and then we'll see what happens with the next album, But I had a lot of fun, and I doubted myself several times, more than I usually do, I think. And because the thing is, when we recorded albums with Beardfish, we usually had someone would say, "Oh, fuck it, I don't really like this part," and someone else would say, "Oh, are you kidding? That's the favorite part of the song for me," So you would always, because you grow tired of certain parts in songs and stuff, and that you may have really liked in the past, and then things, it goes back and forth all the time, emotionally for me. So, this time around, I didn't really have a lot of people to sort of
you were the only one in charge of quality control. There was no one else giving you any input.
Yeah, sure. And then for the songs where everyone was there to record, everyone was sort of in charge of their own parts. So I mean, it's it's different, but I really like how the album turned out, and I hope people are going to like it. But
well, anyway, I mean, to me, I think it has that Beardfish sound, but to me, like I've said, it just seemed to be a bit more free spirited. Do you write all the songs then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Going forward, is it going to carry on like that, or have some of the other guys got some ideas that you feel you'd be happy incorporating?
Well, I mean, that all depends how the band will progress, because as it is now, it's sort of like my project and my outlet for material. But still, on the other hand, if the band, a band can change in so many ways throughout its lifetime, and Beardfish certainly did that. So that's kind of that was kind of cool, actually, because in the beginning of Beardfish, I was probably a bit more of a dictator than later on, and as soon as the others became more vocal about parts and stuff, it was still me writing the bulk of the material, but they had strong opinions about stuff, and that was really cool, and we'll see what happens with Gungfly as well. So
what's the story behind the new album, On Her Journey to the Sun? Where did the ideas for the songs come from?
Oh man,
how long have I got?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, well, it was. I mean, as soon as I start writing a song, and if I'm in a creative process where I start writing something and I like what I'm hearing, if I get those juices flowing, and you start, oh, cool, this is going to be a nice song, Then what usually happens is that another song comes along, and all of a sudden you sit there and you have an album's worth of material. So that's usually the process for me. But still, the ideas, I think, came about from just the material being written more or less around the same time.
Yeah.
There were some songs that were actually left over from Beardfish that I had written for the next Beardfish album, but then as we decided to call it quits, I decided to take those songs with me instead of just no need to have them go to waste, I guess, so
exactly. Yeah. It does feel like it flows very well as an album. I don't know if you've actually managed to read that review that I sent across to you that Kevin had done.
I did. It was hilarious.
Yes. Well, it's like mentioning everyone who actually writes reviews. A lot of them write reviews for me at Progradar as well. And when I was reading it, I just thought and Kevin himself thought he'd taken a risk as to whether people would actually appreciate what he'd done with it. I thought it was really good, but the overwhelming thing I got from Kevin's review is he felt the same as me, that the whole album flows, the songs seem to carry into each other, and there's no disparity between them.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I've always liked albums that are in that way myself. I really like it when there can be like a flow between songs, and I think a lot of that also has to do with like how you decide on track listing and stuff. And I mean, back when I started writing music and when I started releasing albums, I had I didn't really spend that much time sort of doing the track list, but then these days I tend to do quite a lot of it instead. Take a lot of time to sort of work out which songs should come.
I think in that where you position the songs can make a good album into a great album. Or vice versa as well, yeah.
Absolutely, it's always difficult because, of course, people are going to think differently, So, but then on the other hand, if most people listen to Spotify and iTunes these days, so I mean, or Apple Music, sorry, and I guess they can do their own
There are playlists.
their own track list.
Yeah. So just touching, I don't want to go too much into what happened with Beardfish, but how did you feel when it came to a close, and had you already had in your head about doing more of the Gungfly stuff, so it was just a neat transition from one to the other?
Well, I had basically 2 separate albums in my mind. So I had one Gungfly album that I was going to start working on, but then we had quite a lot of material with Beardfish going on as well around that time. But then things just weren't moving along as we would have liked, I guess. And I think we set quite high standards for ourselves that we had a problem maintaining, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And just because of, you grow older and you have families and stuff, and that takes a lot of time. And being the band that we were, we like to actually meet up and, rehearse the songs. That's what we did. A lot of bands these days do the whole thing where you send files back and forth to each other and work out stuff that way. But Beardfish met up. I mean, we met up in rehearsal spaces and played for 9 hours a session, stuff like that. It was a real band in that sense.
Yeah.
A proper garage band, and growing older and having families and stuff made that way of working really difficult. We couldn't do that to the same extent anymore, and I think that's sort of what killed it. Really,
you maybe felt that you couldn't produce the quality that you wanted to because you couldn't spend enough time together to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is sad, really. But I mean, on the other hand, it was nice to instead of doing a couple of crappy albums and then I'm not sure that would have happened either. But instead of doing that, we wanted to sort of go out with a.
You went out on a high.
Yeah. Exactly.
Plus 462 Comfort Zone was one of my favourite albums of that year. It was a really good album. So I've just been listening to it now before I started talking to you, and
thank you.
A very good album. Yeah. So talking about other material, where do you see the Unbendable Sleep fitting in? I think looking at the PR stuff that came with the Gungfly album, it sort of like a Gungfly project, but to me it seemed to be more of a solo album. Was that like a transitional release between Beardfish and Gungfly? Because there seems to be elements of both in it to my ears.
Oh yeah, well I mean it was for me it could have actually been, and maybe it should have been labeled Gungfly because it sort of had the same people involved a little bit, and also the fact that the same way of working really as I did. It was just that I was in kind of a transition period.
Yeah.
Between if I was going to do any more stuff as under my own name, under my given name that is, or if I was going to go with the Gungfly moniker, and then of course ended up signing with Inside Out and deciding to use both.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, I guess. But
is that because perhaps Rikard Sjöblom is a better known name than Gungfly that you've done that, or is it just the way it worked out?
Well, I mean,
a more recognisable
bit
name,
of both.
should I say? Yeah.
Probably because I mean, I've done some stuff with like with Big Train and all of that stuff, and maybe it's easier for people to know who's actually involved in the stuff, and I'm guessing this is going to be what I will be doing alongside Big Train from now on. So.
How do you sort of manage your time regarding that? I mean, does either of those projects take more time than the other, or do you try and spend as much time on Gungfly as you do on Big Train, or is it just for a week or two it's Big Train, then you have to move on to Gungfly?
No, I mean the thing with Big Train is that it's very well planned out, so that you sort of know a while in advance what's going to be.
Right.
What we need to do. So that's usually chunks of time spread out through the year, and then all of the other time I do a whole lot of different stuff. But as soon as I'm in my studio working, it's usually Gungfly stuff. So yeah. So
music has obviously been in your life from a very, very early age. Was that all you ever wanted to be, a musician?
Well, I mean, I think so, at least early on, and then once you've done it for a certain amount of time, it's you sort of get stuck. I wouldn't say stuck, because that sounds bad, but you know, it's more or less this is what I'm doing, and I'm glad I'm able to do it. So it's always felt pretty natural.
Yeah. Were your family always giving you encouragement about your music when you first started out? Were they behind you all the time?
Oh yeah, they did. I mean, and in the beginning, they kind of thought, well, aren't you gonna sort of apply to some talent show or stuff like that? And I was always very reluctant to those kind of situations. So instead, I try to focus more on doing what I like doing, and then I also played a whole lot of cover bands and stuff, and I still do that from time to time. Just I've got to stay floating, and
exactly,
it's not easy, but it works, and just doing a whole lot of different stuff helps with staying alive from doing music.
So who were your earliest influences music wise?
Oh man, I think when I started playing accordion actually when I was a kid. So that was my granddad played accordion, and he sort of noticed that I had an ear for picking out melodies and stuff. So he persuaded my parents to buy me an accordion when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And so I started playing a little bit, and I think my influences back then were, accordion players, basically. This kind of happy sort of folky Swedish music, which is, I still love it. Whenever I hear it, I'll go dancing. So
you can hear that influence in your music, because to me that's what it is. It's feel good music. There's a real good beat and vibe to it.
Well, yeah, I bet those influences shine through.
Not too much accordion, or I've not made any out yet, anyway.
And then, I mean, after that, my mom listened a whole lot to the Beatles, and she always liked music and liked having music around. Whenever she was doing stuff for just playing records at home. One of my earliest things was, I was miming. No, I wasn't miming. I was singing along to "I'm So Excited" by the Pointer Sisters. That's a story she loves to tell. So,
so get it out in the open now, then.
Oh yeah.
So what do you listen, or who do you listen to now? If I said to you, just pick 3 albums that you'd say you listen to now and enjoy? Well,
I've been listening to. Let's see. The last thing I listened to was a couple of buddies of mine they have a band called Baron Bane.
Right.
They released an album just a while back, and I got it on vinyl, so I've been listening a whole lot to that one. They're an excellent band. If you like sort of electronica and pop and stuff, they're awesome stuff. And then I've been listening a whole lot to Townes Van Sant.
Yeah.
Just, I have a couple of albums of his, and I like to have it on and just while I do other stuff as well. So and then I've been, let's see, one more album maybe.
Yeah, just one more.
Yeah, I gotta pick one of that I've had because I've had a couple of albums in my car. Yeah. I've been listening to Oranges and Lemons because I bought the XTC album.
Yes, yeah.
Because I bought the 5.1 mix of that one. Yeah. So I've had the stereo album in my car, and I've been driving around singing along.
Yeah.
I love that album. My kids love it too.
Yeah.
I found my son on the floor the other day, and he was singing along to The Garden of Earthly Delights. So that was great stuff.
Just this isn't part of the interview. Just for me writing it up afterwards. How do you spell your 2 friends' band name?
Oh, it's Baron, so Baron.
Baron, yeah, lovely, that's fine.
And then Bane, Bane.
Yeah, lovely, that's great, thanks. Have you heard any of the new Mew album?
I haven't, no, but I've heard lots of good stuff about it.
I know Greg's quite a big fan, isn't he, of Mew?
Oh, he is.
Yeah, because I got it sent as a promo on vinyl actually, so I've listened to it quite a lot recently. It's really good. So,
sweet.
Right, here's one for you. I know you've been a musician all your life, but if you have been a musician, what other career could you see yourself doing?
Oh man.
Or could you?
Probably like a transport driver or something, because I actually did that one summer.
Right.
I took strawberries. I drove strawberries to the local stores and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was a nightly job, and I loved it. You know, you went into the warehouse in the middle of the night, packed the van, and then you went out between like 1 in the morning until maybe around 8 in the morning. Yeah. So it was and then I went to bed, you know, and slept until noon. So there wasn't a whole lot of sleeping, but you know, but it was a great job, and I got to listen to a whole lot of albums and stuff.
Yeah.
And just drive around. That was great. A great job for me.
Great. So getting back to what we were commenting on earlier on, have you got any plans to play live with Gungfly?
Oh yeah. That's we're doing like a launch concert now in my hometown, you know.
Yeah.
When the album is released, so I'm guessing we're gonna try to rehearse the material, because we haven't, a couple of the songs, we never played them together live yet, so it's gonna be an interesting an interesting thing to do. But and I bet it's gonna take some time. But I'm hoping we're gonna book some tours and stuff for the late fall probably.
Yeah. Will you be slotting any Beardfish stuff in there, or will it all be Gungfly?
I don't think we will be playing any Beardfish. I mean, I did actually play one of the sort of more acoustic songs from Comfort Zone.
Yeah.
When I played in Italy, we played there as a trio, the Gungfly light version.
Yeah.
This fall, and I did play the one inside actually from Comfort Zone just by myself. But I mean, I don't think we'll be actually rehearsing any Beardfish material per se, just because right now it would just feel weird. I'm not saying never, you know.
But at the moment it's a clean break and look forward instead of backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was the last live gig you went to?
Oh, gotta try to remember. I haven't been to a whole lot of live gigs recently, because I haven't had a lot of time to. No. Usually, I'm working at the same time as bands are playing, which is kind of unfortunate. But I think it might have been. It could have actually been the Tubes.
Right.
And this is embarrassing, because that was over a year ago. So I should get out more. But I saw them in Southampton when I was there.
Yeah.
Last year doing some stuff, and that may have been the last gig I went to. So.
And playing and attending, would you prefer the smaller intimate gigs or the bigger, say, stadium sized gigs?
Well, when I'm playing, I like the sort of, my favorite is probably a sort of medium sized venues. Not because I played, they seem to be getting kind of unpersonal when the gigs get too big, you know.
Yeah. So maybe like King's Place last year.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that was great. But then going to shows, you know, that's the same thing actually for me. I really like the smaller sort of medium-sized venues, because same thing there. You know, I went to see Pearl Jam when they played in Stockholm a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just we went on like the balcony way back in the arena, and it was just, you know, you see all the monitors and stuff, but you don't really get the feeling of the band, I think.
That's it. And I think with the stadium gigs, quite often you're not looking at the band if you're too far back. You're looking at the screens, aren't you? You're not actually.
Oh yeah, and everything is delayed and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I heard something about that. They've actually been able to sort that a little bit better these days. So
right.
I don't know.
So just moving slightly on to just a bit of a sideways move. How did you actually come to be involved with Big Train?
Oh well, that's a good story actually. I was
I was on a tour with Beardfish, where we were supporting Spock's Beard.
Yeah.
And this was, could it have been maybe 2013 or something, I think. And then they had Rob Aubrey as their sound engineer on the tour, and he was actually also doubling as a tour manager, so it was a busy tour for him. But and then he was talking about Big Train a little bit, but then when I got back home, apparently he had recommended me to them because they were looking for someone who could do guitars and keyboards and backing vocals.
Yeah.
So he recommended me, which was the start of that. And then he said, I don't really know, who they're gonna pick, but I recommended you, and we'll see if they'll be in touch, And then they of course were.
Yeah.
and I ended up going over there to film at Real World. Well, they sent me a couple of songs, or actually quite a lot of songs, and for me to learn. And then I went over there and we did the whole session. And afterwards, Greg asked me straight away if I wanted to join the band, and I said yes.
Yeah.
So that was that, and I've been a part of the band ever since.
Yeah. How different is it to what was Beardfish and now you're in Gungfly? I know you said earlier on, you know what you're doing with Big Train because chunks of your calendar are blocked out for what they're doing. Is it more regimented than before?
Well, it's very well organized, which is a good thing, and I think it's a necessary thing just because it's such a big band. There are eight players in the actual band, and then a 5-piece horn section, which is their they were there for the entire King's Place gig as well, and also came in to do session stuff at Real World when we were there. So I mean, it takes a lot of planning for the just the logistics of it. I mean, I think that was the main difference. Also, I mean, apart from it being musically different as well, because it's Beardfish was more, even though it was kind of like it is a prog band, or was, I mean, generally, but still had more of a punk vibe to it as well.
Yeah,
I guess, because we would never go out of our way to make it sound exactly like the albums.
Yeah,
because Beardfish was we had more of that garage band vibe that the albums were something different,
Yeah.
And I like both worlds, so I have trouble deciding which one I prefer, and I think I actually like them
both
equally as much.
Yeah, best of both worlds. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know that when we've been doing stuff with Gungfly as well, we usually tend to keep the main ingredients of the song, of course, but then try to see, okay, so what is going to be, in a live situation, everyone is, for some reason, someone might go on a limb and do something improvised, and then the rest of us will go along. So that's usually what happens.
More spontaneity.
Yeah.
On the new album, the Grimspound, you've contributed to Meadowland and Mead Hall in Winter. Would you like to get involved more in the songwriting for Big Train? And obviously it's a different process to Gungfly because you wrote those yourself.
Well, I mean, for me, it's more that if I'm writing a song and I feel that, okay, so this might be a good Big Train song, but it's not that I don't think I'll go out of my way to sort of plan out that, okay, I'm going to write a song for Big Train, because that would be, I think that would just make it stale.
Yeah. Yes.
Because this time it happened like with Mead Hall. I was Greg had asked me to write an acoustic guitar intro for a different song.
Yeah.
And I started working on it, and then sort of started noticing that, okay, this is gonna be probably I'm able to elaborate on this and probably turn it into a song, like a longer song. And then I started working on it, and all of a sudden it was 15 minutes long. So it's like, that's usually what happens for
Yeah.
me. It's like I tend to go on a journey when I
It gets a
write.
life of its own.
Yeah. So when I sent it over, he was like, "Oh man, I love this," and he asked me if I had any lyrics for it, or if I had any vocals for it, and I just said, I asked him if he would, like to write the lyrics, and he said, "Okay, well, sure, I would love to have a go," and then he suggested getting David involved since he was going to sing it.
Yeah.
He might as well come up with the vocal melodies, so that's what we did. We sent the track to David, and he came up with some vocal lines, and then he sent that stuff to me and Greg, and we, okayed that, and then Greg wrote the lyrics. So
yeah.
that was and I love collaborating. It's a great process, and I just didn't feel, I didn't really feel comfortable writing vocals for David, because I felt usually when I write for myself, I know what I'm gonna sort of sing.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's better that he could decide that for himself, I thought. So.
Yeah. With you coming sort of later into the Big Train community, shall we say, it is, to me, obviously being involved with the Facebook page of the passengers, if you like. How does that feel from inside the band? Does it feel more like a community than being in a band?
Well, it's a great. I really like the whole vibe of the band, and it's passengers. It's a really sort of unique community to me, because everyone is really sort of close and friendly with each other, which is it's a very nice thing, and I don't think it's that common either.
No, I agree.
Because I've seen other people's forums and stuff, and it's never really the same for any other bands that I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's like everything has been built together with the fans almost.
Yeah.
With help from the fans and stuff, and it's really cool.
Good. Your Gungfly album on Her Journey to the Sun, obviously Grimsbound, are both being released as vinyl. What do you think of the vinyl resurgence?
Oh, well, it's really cool. I've been a vinyl fan since I was a kid, so it's for me it's like, oh yeah, that's great. People are catching on to this, but because we didn't have a CD player until I was older. I think I was around 12 or 13 when we got our first CD player, and that was kind of late.
Yeah.
Everyone else already had one, so I'd continued buying vinyls, Iron Maiden and Halloween and bands like that when I started listening to bands that I listened to back then, and all of a sudden we had a CD player, but still I always really preferred the vinyl even back then. So I've been gradually buying stuff all the time. So it's like, I love the fact that it's getting a resurgence.
Yeah, I sort of say, I don't know how you see it as well, but obviously there's the illegal download and file shares, etc. And I feel that the fact that vinyl is becoming popular again is negating that effect to a certain extent, because people actually want the physical product. They're not interested in downloading just a few bits, bytes of information. They actually want the physical product.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also the fact that I just love because it makes it more valid to go out and make a really nice cover as well, which is it's just great.
Yeah. So you've got the Cadogan Hall gigs at the end of September with Big Train. Rehearsals started yet, and now you're looking forward to the gigs?
Well, I don't really. I haven't received the proper set list yet, so I'm not really sure what we'll be playing. But I think we'll be starting to rehearse maybe around a week before or something with the entire band. Yeah. Then, of course, I'm going to learn the songs before that. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be 3 really nice shows.
Yeah. So taking the big train out of the occasion, obviously we know we've got the Cadogan Hall gigs coming up. What's next for Gungfly and yourself?
Well, right now I'm just aiming at the launch gig because we're gonna do that one. But then I'm hoping to be able to post about some gigs for later on in the fall. I'm just working on some details there now, just to sort of to book a tour. Basically, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but hopefully sometime in the late fall.
Are we hopefully going to see you across this side of the pond?
That's what I'm hoping as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Would be great. So.
Yeah. Well, as I say, we've had Kevin's review of the album, which a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit witty, but the general consensus from him and me who've listened to the album, it's a very good album.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm hoping, I'm pretty certain that the rest of the feedback's going to be good as well. So I'm wishing you continued success on that, and hopefully we'll see some Gungfly gigs and another Gungfly album soon. So thanks for talking to me, Rikard, and all the best. And hopefully, unfortunately, I won't see you at Cadogan Hall because I've got to work that weekend. So hopefully, I'll catch you at one of the Gungfly gigs.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, thank you, Martin. It was great talking to you, and glad you liked the album.
Yeah, it's good. It's brilliant. All right, my friend. Nice speaking to you. You enjoy the rest of your day.